Well, I think probably the days that I started in the 60s, uh, those were the days where most of the people wore jeans and a flannel shirt, and it was very cool not to look at your audience and kind of just uh, turn your back to the audience. That was the hippie '60s and the Grateful Dead and the Airplane and the Quicksilvers and those kind of bands. But obviously things evolved, and that was no Pearl Jam. I think was probably one of the most recent throwbacks to the '60s type approach to show business. In between, and now to this day, it's all about a show. It's about having that stage charisma. And to me, there's a lot of good music out there, but some of it you would rather hear on record in your living room. And then there were acts that didn't have such a great musical history, but they were just amazing entertainers. And the guy who could get up on stage and have the charisma to make that guy in the first row and the kid in the back row think when he said, "I want you," and they all thought you were, he looked at me. That's the star. That was what made the difference of, for me, the guy totally had command of the stage. And there weren't all that many that did, but every once in a while you'd see somebody who you just knew that it didn't matter when the single came, that this guy had such a presence on stage. The hit single's going to come because people are going to fall in love with the stage presence and the antics and the charisma, and that's a real superstar, you know. And so you're always on the lookout because there were hundreds and hundreds of acts that had great talent and were great achieved great musical events and songs. And, the songwriters, James Taylor today lives in as much comfort with his music as he did when he wrote it at the beginning. I mean, there's no doubt that he's one of the true greats out there. To Neil Diamond, his fans, he had a movie that didn't really do well, The Jazz Singer, but every person who goes to his concert has the same question on their mind. Well, when are you going to act again? That was the greatest movie I ever saw. I mean, he was the Jewish Elvis. And to those people, they can't wait for it. And if you go to Hollywood and say, look, we got this idea for Neil Diamond, to go, please, we're bankrupt already just on the idea. But as a talent and for his songs, his audience, I mean, he's one of the few artists who has always taken a tremendous interest in his fan base. He makes it an action. There's a formula and a process. He never repeats. He repeats markets, but they're always at least 18 months apart. And he was the last Indian on the Hill to raise ticket prices. He, to this day, he could get 200, his audience could easily pay $200 a ticket compared to others that are out there paying that. And on the front of the ticket, not even, Golden Circle or Special, the Eagles just finished a tour where $200 was the top ticket price on the face value. Neil Diamond always resisted that and always charged beneath what the going rate was because he felt his fan base expected that and would return quicker if he didn't gouge. And he knows he has a career that spanned 40 years, whereas some of the artists that are worried about will it all end say, just bring it in. Just, I want it now, and I want it my way, and I don't care. And, I think that's some of the crash and burn that happened in the industry, that people just burn their fan base out. And, again, it's hard to be creative and follow the record industry's example of every year you got to have a new album that's great. People can't create art like that. Sometimes you got to wait a little longer, and I think, sometimes you put out stuff that shouldn't have been out, but the label had their their figures to make. I mean, it was all about the record company's year, and we need one more big record. Who can we go and say, move your release date from January? We want to put it out in November because we need that billing. And that was one of the biggest gripes, is that the labels were motivated by numbers and profitability as opposed to the artistry and what's right for a career. And that was one of the things I think most of my clients knew, that I was career oriented, that I always looked when they came in, when an artist would give me the opportunity to talk to them about the tour and about their career, I was always looking for a hook. You know, if they said, well, I want to work after the first of the year, immediately I went to, where are we going to be Valentine's Day? That's a big thing. You know, where can we make a statement? Where are we going to, what can we do at that time of year that will make it bigger than just the show? And that's one of the things that I used to preach, was underplay a market. If people can't get tickets, it causes a frenzy. And everybody's talking, did you see the show by so-and-so? No, I couldn't get tickets. Next time you'll be twice as hot. You know, whereas, you know, well, we only got 40 days to do it, and if I can do another day in L.A. as opposed to go all the way to Fresno, I'm staying in L.A. And, you know, the Eagles, oddly enough, just did a tour of just California. And it ended November 20th, which is why I'm proud to be a Californian. They played 3 shows in Palm Springs, out in the tennis center. And here it is, November 20th, 21st, outside, outdoors, in a market that's never had a big arena show in their life. They have a McCallum Auditorium, which is 1,200 or 1,600. This was a 12,000 seat arena that they cut down in half because it goes straight up. But the acoustics were really good because it was a very big thrust. You know, rather than be lengthy, it went straight up, so the sound would bounce right back. And they did, I think, 9 or 10,000 people a night. They did 3 shows in this desert town that never had a show. And they've played everywhere else in California. They played Fresno. They played Bakersfield. And they found at the end of, I think they played 4 Anaheims and 4 Staples, and there were still 20-some-odd thousand people that paid $200 or $250 a top ticket in Palm Springs, California, that obviously hadn't seen them before. And to them, I mean, Palm Springs is very affluent, and it was the event of the year. And where else in the country, on a November evening, can it be 72 degrees and you're watching a California band play all their hits? It was pretty cool.